Okay, we're live. We're off the mark. Okay, welcome back, everybody. We've got another Monday morning. I hope you've all had a good weekend. And managed to get, a little bit of fresh air in, a little bit of movement, trying to keep active as well, especially as it certainly seems like the weather's turning now. It's definitely going that way. So yeah, get out and about while we can. I mean, there's like I always say, there's not really such a thing as bad weather, just the wrong clothing, really. So we can still keep active over winter, but it's a nice time of year for it. It's not too chilly. You don't need to get wrapped up too much, and at the same time, it's not like middle of summer heat when we're out trying to walk, exercise, whatever it might be. Even just take the kids to the park and stuff like that. So plenty of opportunities to keep moving, even though the weather hasn't been the best. And of course, as always, guys, if you're sort of thinking to yourself, look, I've got these sort of circumstances, I want to get active, but I don't really know where to start, drop me a message, guys. Now, like I say, I'll always try and point you in the right direction. So we've actually got our last session this morning, week 7 of 7. So we can have a little bit of a recap on everything that we've sort of done so far. But we've got one more sort of unit to work through, or one more topic to work through, and that's looking at body types and different components of fitness as well. So before I get into it, as always, I'll just point you towards the description box under the YouTube video. As always, guys, that has got my email address in if you need it. That has got it's got the survey in for today's session, just like every other week. So if you can fill that in for us, please. And then we've got any extra supplementary sort of learner info as well. There's a link to our Google Drive where you find any extra information that you might need to do with all of that sort of thing. And the last thing that's there, of course, is, as always, the fitness video, which is I've picked a bit of a different one this morning. It's I'll explain as we're going through, because it kind of links in with today's session as well. So it's all to do with the idea of Amrap training, which is just as many reps as possible. So what you do, you set yourself a timer, and then you might have 1 exercise, 2 exercises, 3 exercises, or whatever that you're going to do over and over for 5 minutes. So you might do 5 squats, 5 press-ups, 5 star jumps, and then go back 5 squats, 5 press-ups, 5 star jumps, and just repeat through over and over again for 5 minutes, or however long you've set your timer for. And the reason that we're doing that one this week is so we can really think about these components of fitness that we're talking about as well, because different exercises will challenge your body and challenge your fitness in different ways. And, hopefully some of those will stand out while we're actually doing that workout. So we'll actually get into components of fitness shortly, because when we think about components of fitness, and when we think about fitness in general, I think as individuals, we all have our own different image of what fitness is, or this different idea of what fitness means. To somebody, you could look at somebody who's on stage at the Mr. Olympia contest, a bodybuilding competition where they've got themselves to as low a body fat as possible, the muscles are as big as possible, and they're not really carrying any extra body fat. And you could look at them athletes, really, and you could say, oh, well, they look really fit, but then you'd see somebody like Farah, who isn't really carrying much extra muscle. He's quite thin, he's quite light, but at the same time he can run a marathon. He's won Olympic gold medals over long distance running, so he's fit as well. But those two people are totally different. If you were to take an Arnold Schwarzenegger and a Farah, you would look at them both in their peak and say they're fit, but they're fit in totally different ways. And we're just going to dive into what those different ways might be, how we can, sports that we might sort of find them in, or activities that they might be important in, and then thinking about how we can actually sort of make sure that the way that we're training is developing the right aspects of fitness that we actually want to, So, for example, if you wanted to get faster, so let's just say, for example, you wanted to get fitter over long distance, like a Farah. So you were training for the Great North Run or Race for Life or something like that. If all you did to train for that was sprinting, you're not really working the amount of the aspect of fitness or the component of fitness that's going to help you on the day. So yeah, we can have a little bit of a dive into that shortly. But yeah, the first thing I want to talk about is different body types, actually, because we all come in different shapes and sizes, don't we? You know, we all come like I say, not really two of us are built the same. We all have natural strengths and weaknesses as well, you know. And that's for a reason as well, you know. A lot of it's genetic, but we have these sort of models of body types, and we can start to get an idea of what makes us different, really, you know, and what might make us better at certain sports or activities than others, what might let us eat more of a certain type of food than others. You know, I'm sure we all know somebody who can eat what they want and doesn't put any weight on, you know, and also somebody who feels like they just have to look at food to put weight on, you know, and that's because different genetics and ultimately two different body types, guys. So that's what we're going to look into. And we've actually got three main body types. Now, people as individuals tend to fall somewhere between two of these three. So you might look at one and think, you know, okay, that's a little bit like me, but not entirely like me. Yeah, it's very rare to just be entirely one body type. We tend to be somewhere between usually two of them. Yeah, so a mix of two of these different body types. Okay, guys, so let's get into it then. Let's do body types. So we've got the first one we've got is an ectomorph, which is a person who is naturally thin. So they are considered to have an ectomorph body. These types of people are genetically predisposed to have this type of body and are typically skinny their entire lives. So they are born that way, you know, their genetics and their DNA from their parents and ancestors sort of decide at early doors, really, that they're going to be this sort of body type. They're going to be sort of quite skinny, typically skinny their entire lives, and that's generally due to a fast metabolism. And you know, in a way, I would say that, you know, I am lucky to be part ectomorph, because you know, especially younger, you could get away with eating more of the wrong foods. You know, I've always been built like a racing snake, really. You know, so I've always been, no matter what I've eaten, guys. But that has the flip side of the coin, in the sense that when I've tried to put weight on through eating the right foods and training and lifting weights and stuff like that, it's really difficult, because this fast metabolism is just burning extra calories and making my body work harder. So I need to eat more. Yeah, and I've never been a big eater, truth be told. I haven't got a massive appetite, so I've always struggled to eat enough food to offset this really fast metabolism. Yeah, like it says at the bottom, those with an ectomorph body usually have difficulty building muscle mass. So there's pros and cons, guys, you know. But that is the ectomorph. So naturally quite skinny, sort of naturally sort of like a narrow frame, usually quite narrow shoulders. Yeah, and they, like I say, tend to be skinny their entire lives. And when you get older and your metabolism slows down, and you know, you maybe do put a little bit of weight on, that doesn't mean that you're no longer an ectomorph just because your physical shape has changed. It's more to do with your genetics and your shape in early life, really. Okay, guys, then we have got an endomorph. Yeah, so an endomorph has a rounder body with a waist that is often bigger than the chest. Yeah, so a very sort of like barrel-shaped torso. So people with this body type often have short arms and legs, relatively short arms and legs. With the upper part of the limb being larger than the lower part. So, for example, tends to be, so the upper part of the limb, so from elbow to shoulder, tends to be longer than elbow down to wrist. Yeah, which, not that we need to worry about it too much, but it actually leads people who are built differently to be better to do different exercises. Yeah. So it's like your body's just like a pulley system. It's all mechanics really. And yeah, for example, like a longer femur, so a longer thigh bone, will let you be better at, I think it's deadlifts. Naturally, just more inclined to deadlifts, and you might be able to get a little bit more weight onto your deadlift. So the main takeaway for Endomorph, really, guys, is that they do tend to store fat quite easily and can easily gain muscle mass as well. It depends. Are they training? Are they exercising? What's their food like? This is the sort of person who could put a decent amount of muscle on if they're eating the right sort of foods, you know. Endomorph doesn't necessarily mean it's somebody who's like round or has weight to lose. Like I say, Endomorph, it's massively like I say, to do with it's the metabolism again, guys, really, that sort of determines how fast that food's gonna and those calories are gonna get burned off. And endomorphs just tend to have a slower metabolism. So yeah, they do tend to store fat easily. But like I say, if they're training right, they can gain muscle mass. But if they're not exercising and they're not eating right, it's really, really easy for them to start to put weight on. So that was ectomorph and endomorph. So we've got kind of think of those as two ends of the scale, and then we've got a mesomorph, which is kind of smack bang in the middle. So we've got an average build with the muscle definition and strength of an athlete, so somebody who's naturally quite athletic, sometimes broad shoulders and a narrow waist. Yeah, so again, that very, very sort of athletic looking physique, really. So broad shoulders and a narrow waist. Mesomorphs build muscle easily and are generally more muscular than endomorphs and ectomorphs. Yeah, so they tend to just naturally carry a little bit more muscle as well. A fast metabolism helps people with this body type lose fat and maintain weight when they follow a healthy diet and exercise program as well. Yeah, so same again, these people, they're maybe a little bit more naturally athletic, a little bit more naturally aesthetic in the way that they look. But at the same time, they also do need to be thinking about the food that they're eating and making sure that they're making good choices, and especially to be exercising and training as well. Yeah, so we've got this more natural sort of athletic looking sort of body type, and we've got the endomorph and we've got the ectomorph as well, guys. So we can actually have a look at some examples of people that would fit into these brackets, and then we can really start to think about, okay, that makes sense why he's really good at that or she's really good at that, you know. And we can really start to understand why certain people have gone on to be the best in the world at what they do. Yeah, so just have a look at in fact, obviously, as always, I'm following along with the live chat, guys, on my phone. If you want to chuck anything in there, just go for it. So thinking about it, guys, or maybe just a little bit of 30 seconds or so to have a little bit of a think, or you could always pause it if you're watching it back later on in the week. Which body type do you think each of these athletes are? Yeah, so we had an ectomorph, who was naturally skinny. We had the endomorph, who had more of like a barrel chest. Yeah. And then we had the mesomorph, who was a little bit more athletic, more muscular. So which do you think each of these athletes have as their body type? I'm gonna give it another few seconds. And also think about, like I say, their characteristics, what makes them have that body type. Okay, guys, cool. So because we've got an ectomorph, actually quite thin, yeah, have quite sort of skinny limbs, not carrying much muscle. For me, I think that's more Mo Farah. Yeah, that would definitely be more Mo Farah. That definitely fits him. So for anybody who's not sure who Mo Farah is, he's a Olympic medalist And I don't know if he specializes in one length race, but he does a lot of long distance running. You're talking like the 3,000 meters and stuff like that as well. So not really like a short little sprint. He's doing a lot of long distance running. And again, we can maybe start to have a think about why then? Why is he so good at long distance running? And I think the answer's in here somewhere. Yeah, he's that's metabolism. So he's burning a lot of extra weight, and he's not really, or he's having difficulty building muscle mass. So if he was carrying a load of muscle with him, over 3,000 meters, those extra kilograms really add up, and they slow you down, and they eat into your energy and your fitness. So for him, it pays to be lighter. Yeah, as long as he's got the cardiovascular fitness. So this is where we start to see these different types of fitness coming in. Yeah, he's got really good cardiovascular fitness. He's not strong. He's not necessarily, I mean, he might be, but not like in this sort of sense. He's not naturally strong. He's not the fastest man in the world. In fact, he's not even the fastest, but he's very, very good with his aerobic endurance, which is what lets him do what he does for so long. Usain Bolt was the fastest man in the world, but over a long distance, there's no way he would keep up with somebody like Mo Farah. So again, a little bit of an insight as to why Mo Farah's gone on to win gold medals in this field, you know, what helps him really, really excel at the top of his game. Okay, guys, then we've got Usain Bolt, and I've got a little confession to make. I don't really follow rugby. I don't really follow the rugby. But I'm going to see if I can find out who this guy is, actually. Let's see if we can do it while you guys are trying to nail down these last two. So which one of these is the Mesomorph, do you think? And which one is the Endomorph? And I'm going to try and find out who this rugby guy is. Okay, guys, so where are we? Let's find them. So we want to think about, just have a quick scan through these two again. So we've got an Endomorph who's got a more naturally sort of rounded body, I guess you could say. Like I say, that more barrel-shaped chest and torso. And they tend to store fat easily and also gain muscle easily as well. I would say that that's this guy here on the right-hand side. And I might be able to tell you who he is if I get this Google search back. But anyway, he's a rugby player. He's a rugby player, guys. So he needs to have that extra strength. He needs to have a little bit of endurance as well, because he's playing a game that lasts a lot longer than a lot of races do, you know, that these two guys might be doing. So he needs prolonged sort of fitness as well. So this gentleman on the right-hand side, in his own respect, is fitness. He was a professional athlete. He was a professional sportsman. Yeah. And like I say, his body type allowed him to be good at the things that he was good at as well. Can you imagine taking somebody like Mo Farah and sticking them in the middle of a rugby match with players that are built like this, you know? So a little disclaimer before we move on, really, I guess. I never, ever like to give the impression or the idea that your body type defines what you can and can't do. Yeah, your shape shouldn't and doesn't limit you from doing something that you enjoy. If you love doing something, you enjoy doing something, go and do it. Yeah. What we are talking about is to be amongst the best in the world. Yeah, to be up there with the professionals. You tend to not get there unless, you know, you're one of a very, very sort of few, like 1% or whatever it is, probably even less. So again, just really identifies why certain athletes are so much better at certain sports. You know, Usain Bolt, for all he can run and he's fast, he probably wouldn't be powerful enough to play rugby. He might not be strong enough to play rugby. But at the same time, he hasn't got the endurance and the lasting lung capacity to keep up with Mo Farah as well. But this was a guy who, in his field, is one of the most celebrated Olympians of all time. He's the world record holder for the 100-meter sprint. He certainly was the last time I checked, anyway. So although he wouldn't be, you know, one of the best in the world at long distance running or rugby, he is one of the best in the world at one point for, you know, the things that his body lend themselves more naturally to. You know, again, if you're sat at home and you're, you know, built like Mo Farah or Usain Bolt, and you think to yourself, I'd love to go and try some of these other things, do it. You know, at the end of the day, guys, it's not going to hurt. But yeah, we're just thinking about, in terms of, to be the best in the world or amongst the best in the world, it, of course, is always going to help to kind of play to your natural strengths. Okay, so the last one that we've got is the Mesomorph, which of course only leaves Usain Bolt. But let's just break this down and think if it applies. So, average build with the muscle definition and strength of an athlete. Yeah. Broad shoulders and a narrow waist. Hard to say how broad his shoulders are, but we can certainly see them that they're muscular, and he's not carrying much extra around his waist. Generally more muscular than endomorphs and ectomorphs. I would agree with that, yeah. Fast metabolism helps people with this body type lose fat and maintain weight. Yeah, so we've got the ectomorph, the mesomorph, and the endomorph, guys, yeah. And of course, always remember that we tend to fall somewhere between two of these. Yeah, so you can even start having a little bit of a think. What's your body type, guys? What do you think? Because as much as I don't like the idea of being limited in what you can and can't do, like, I'm an ectomorph all day long, but if I decided I want to go and try sumo wrestling, I'm going to go and try it. You know, I'm not going to be under any illusions that I'm going to be the best sumo wrestler. But again, if I can enjoy it, I can go along. And it can actually be quite helpful, guys. Thinking about our own body types could be quite helpful in helping us find types of exercise and types of activity that we can actually stick at, you know, and be consistent with. Because as much as it's not about being the best and it's not about going along and being a natural, I don't think anybody wants to turn up to something for the first time, especially if you're already maybe a little bit self-conscious. You know, nobody wants to turn up and feel as though they stand out like a sore thumb, or that they are going to perform in a way that sort of suggests that they shouldn't be there at all. Nobody wants to feel like that. And if you have that experience the first time you go to a class or a fitness or a gym or whatever it might be, you're not so likely to go back. And that's, of course, what we're trying to stay away from. We're trying to find things that you're going to, they want to challenge you, but they should also feel manageable and doable as well. You know, and that is why, again, why not just food, but with certain exercises and certain types of exercise. What works for one person, what works for your mate, you know, or your cousin or whoever, or your colleague, might not necessarily work for you, and probably won't necessarily work for you. You know, so yeah, guys, we are all different. And like I say, thinking about our body types can actually help us find something that, you know, we can maybe feel that we can manage. You know, thinking about our body types, and we can get into, because in a little bit we're going to have a little quiz and think about different sports that require different aspects of fitness as well. And that's what we're going to think about getting into, these little components of fitness as well. Okay, guys, cool. So, yeah, I knew one of these was on there twice, Muscular Endurance, and I always forget to take it off. Okay, guys, so what we've got on screen here is different components of fitness, or different aspects of fitness, you know, different areas of fitness. Because like I say, fitness doesn't mean the same thing to everybody. You know, fitness to, if somebody says that they're going to get fit, that might mean they're going to get fit enough to climb. I'm trying to think of any of them. What do you call it, man? It's gone. It's gone. Even Rosebery Topping, though, you know, something like Rosebery Topping. I'm thinking of the like the 3 peaks and stuff like that. If you wanted to go and do the 3 peaks, you might be thinking, okay, I need to work and get on a certain level of fitness to get to this point. Then you might have somebody else who's, you know, coming back from a football injury, and he's looking to get back in the team, and he's got to get his fitness back. He's got to get back to a certain level of fitness. Then you might have, like I say, somebody who's going into a bodybuilding show who looks totally different to everybody else, you know, who's again fit in totally different ways. So we've got all these different types of fitness, you know. To fitness, like to somebody, fitness might just mean I want to be able to get up and down the stairs without losing my breath, or I want to be able to play with the kids, chase the kids, or the grandkids when they come round, or even like, oh, I'd like to be able to get down and put my own socks on without help, or tie my shoelaces. You know, it's such a big spectrum, and they all require, like I say, these different elements of fitness, or these different areas of fitness. So what we've got first is cardiovascular or aerobic endurance. So when we're thinking cardiovascular, yes, it's a long word, but at the same time, we're thinking cardio is all to do with the heart. Yeah, we think like cardiac arrest or something like that, you know. Cardio is to do with the heart. So this is all to do with kind of your heart, your lungs, and of course, yeah, your veins and all your blood vessels and stuff like that, and the ability to keep going. Yeah, when we mention the word endurance, it just means sort of doing something for a longer amount of time. Yeah, so we're thinking about cardiovascular endurance or aerobic endurance is kind of how long you can go and how long you can exercise before your heart and lungs are struggling and can't keep up with the demand of like supplying the oxygen to the muscles. Yeah, so that would be sort of like when you're running, yeah, long distance, if you get to the point where you've just got to stop, sort of thing, you know. But that's your aerobic endurance. How long can your heart and lungs keep getting oxygen to the muscles that need them? Yeah, so that's really important, of course, in stuff like and again, when we're talking about endurance, thinking for a longer time, we mentioned a rugby player, a sportsman who's playing for an hour, 90 minutes, maybe even longer in certain sports, is going to need a decent amount of aerobic endurance, cardiovascular endurance, because although their muscles are working, their heart and lungs are working for the whole game, really. I mean, our heart and lungs are always working anyway, but they're working at a higher level for the entire game, pretty much. So, aerobic endurance, probably more important for Farah, who has to run long distances. And, you know, someone who's playing rugby or a sportsman or something like that, who needs to have sort of sustained activity across an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours, you know. Usain Bolt runs and within 10, 20 seconds, he's done, you know. He doesn't really have chance for his aerobic, and his cardio systems start to struggle, you know. Whereas if he was trying to maintain that pace to 1,000 meters, he really would start to struggle. Yeah. So that's cardiovascular endurance or aerobic endurance, and it's quite a common sort of thing that people will think of, I think, when it comes to when you think about fitness. It's okay, how long can somebody keep running, moving, exercising, you know, until they get out of breath and need to stop, really. And there's a lot of sports where that's going to be sort of obviously quite helpful as well. But then we've got plenty others on there as well. So that's not the only component of fitness, you see. So that's not the only area of fitness, because if that was all there was to fitness, how long can you run before you get tired? That would be the only type of exercise anybody was doing, the only type of training anybody was doing. And we know that's not the case. So what's everybody else developing, guys? What's everybody else working on? So it might be muscular strength. Yeah, so muscular strength is your muscular or your muscle's ability to lift a load for a very short amount of time, potentially even only once. Yeah, so think about sort of like when it comes to strength, you're thinking about, of course, getting stronger. That might be helpful in something like, again, rugby, where you're going into a scrum and you're trying to push people down the other end of the pitch and stuff like that, which would probably tie in a little bit with muscular endurance, which we'll get to in just a second. You know, your muscles' ability to keep going. But when it comes to strength, there's lots of other sports as well that strength would be quite useful in as well. So, like I say, we're going to have a little bit of a quiz. So maybe start to have a think about different activities, different sports, and such, where each of these might be important, useful. So we can give some examples later on. But yeah, guys, that would be muscular strength. So when you're in the gym, you're thinking like, going in and picking up a heavy weight, maybe once, maybe up to 3 times, tops 5. You know, maybe between 1 and 5 reps would be considered strength training, and it's just helping your muscles lift more weight over and over again, really, you know, like literally just getting them stronger. So we're thinking about the guys that are doing the Mr. Olympia shows, who are up there, who are in, you know, their speedos and they're oiled up and they've got like really, really good muscle definition. They'll have really good muscle strength because they do sort of like a lot of training, but they'll have good muscular endurance as well, which, like I say, we'll get to. So muscular endurance is, again, thinking about the word endurance and what it meant over here. So when it comes to our muscular endurance, it's how long can your muscles work before they kind of stop or failure, really. So with this one here, it was how long can your heart and your lungs get the oxygen to the muscles and keep the blood flowing around the body. This over here is how long before the muscle itself starts to sort of shut down and get tired, really, you know. So again, muscular endurance, really important in a lot of sports. Again, it's like people like Farah needs muscular endurance, so his legs will keep working. You know, at 2,000 meters, 2,500 meters, needs those legs to keep working. And of course, rugby players and sportsmen and stuff like that would be the same as well. Again, Usain Bolt doesn't necessarily need muscular endurance, because by the time his muscles are getting tired, he's finished, he's done. You know, his body is fine-tuned to work for like up to 10, 11 seconds, and then he's finished. You know, muscular endurance doesn't really help someone like Usain Bolt or give them much more, because they don't work and do what they do for long enough for the muscles to really start to get tired. Okay, guys, I'll come back to body composition, because body composition is like a little bit of a wild card on it. So we'll do that one last. We've done muscular endurance, don't know why it's on there twice. Okay, guys, so next one we've got is reaction time. So again, it's a little bit more skill related than physical. You know, you couldn't look at somebody with good reaction time and say, oh, that person's obviously really fit. They spend a lot of time working on their fitness and their health. You know, but it's a skill, and it's part of fitness in itself as well. So reaction time, we're thinking about a stimulus coming in, and you reacting to it. You know, observe what's happening and reacting to it. So we're thinking things like a goalkeeper, if a shot comes in and it takes a deflection on the way, he's already started to go one way, then he sees the ball take a deflection, he has to sort of react and come back on himself and, you know, dive the way that isn't the way that he was moving, and he has to recover, and he still has to make that save. So that could be reaction time sort of things. See it quite a lot in other parts of other sports as well, but football, again, if you think like if there's a loose ball and you're rushing off to try and be the first one with a loose ball, or, you know, maybe the ball lands in the box from like corner comes in, you get up for a header, it's a bit scrappy, nobody clears their line, and just someone in the right place at the right time just happens to be the first one to stick a foot out, stabs his toe at the ball and just pokes it in. You see it now on every week. You know, it happens all the time. Reaction time being the difference between scoring a goal and not scoring a goal, you know, or it certainly can be. So it can actually make or break somebody's success, especially if you think about, of course, we've talked about a lot of these so far, won't apply to somebody like Usain Bolt, who's not working for very long, who's not exercising for very long, you know, when he's competing. Reaction time even more relevant to him than the other guys, you know. I mean, yeah, if you're playing rugby, you've got to be able to sort of even just respond to whichever way the ball's going to bounce. That always used to throw me when I was playing rugby. It's not a circular ball, so it bounces, you're going to get it, and it pings off over there. So you've got to react and go and get it. Now, the best can sort of read that bounce, and they're in the right place at the right time, you know, or they react to it a lot quicker as well. But with somebody like Usain Bolt, whose success or failure might be determined by a tenth of a second, whoever reacts fastest to the starting gun could very well be in with a shot, you know, could very well be in with a chance. So for Usain Bolt to be the best in the world, I can guarantee you he'll have done reaction time training. How fast from the gun going off can you be in full stride? Yeah, how fast can you get moving and get off the mark? Yeah, because like I say, if somebody next to you does it a tenth of a second faster across 100 meters, you haven't got much time to make that tenth of a second up, you know. So reaction time in something like that can be equally important, you know, for different reasons. It's not reacting to a loose ball or something like that, or you're dodging a punch that your opponent's trying to hit you with in the, you know, in any martial arts or any boxing or UFC or whatever it might be. Reaction times really helpful in a lot of different sports, to be honest, guys, and our day-to-day lives as well. Let's not forget that, you know, the takeaway from all of this is applying it to our own day-to-day lives and our own fitness as well, you know. So thinking about reaction time. Okay, guys, then the next one we've got is probably one that you'll have come across before, in flexibility. So flexibility is essentially the range of motion that you have in the joints of your body, pretty much, you know. How far should a joint or a muscle or a body part be able to move, and how far can it actually move? You know, how flexible, how mobile are you? You know, when you go down to tie your shoelaces, does your lower back tighten up? Does your hamstrings tighten up? I've always had chronically tight hamstrings from playing a lot of football and doing a lot of swimming and scuba diving, which are very quadricep heavy. So they use your thigh muscles quite a lot, but your hamstrings on the back of your legs, down the back of your thigh, don't get used very much during those sports. So flexibility and like I say, mobility are massive as well. So flexibility, again, thinking about sports, stuff like gymnastics, of course, flexibility is really important. Dance, figure skating, some of the positions that they get themselves into, you know. So when it comes to flexibility, that's the sort of thing that we're talking about, guys. And again, you know, you could look at you know, a cheerleader or a gymnast doing the splits and flips and whatever, and you'd be thinking, oh well, they must be really fit, you know. And again, it just drives home this idea that my definition of fit might be different from your definition of fit, might be different from everybody else's definition of fit and fitness, you know, guys. So again, our takeaway really is going to be, which of these components of fitness are important to you? What would you like to develop? Because if you just go into a gym and say, I want to get fitter, it's a very broad approach. And if you, at the end of the day, guys, really, it's impossible to train and improve all of these at the same time. There's just not enough time to do it. So the best way to do it is focus on one, maybe two, and focus on those. Yeah, so pick maybe the two most important things when it comes to fitness that apply to yourself. Yeah, it might be aerobic endurance and, you know, bit of flexibility. You know, if maybe you just want to be able to keep up with the grandkids, or you know, chase the kids around and stuff like that. Or maybe you like to play a sport, so maybe you're thinking about your aerobic endurance and your reaction times as well. So start to get an idea about what's important to you when you think of the word fitness. You know, because to certain people, certain things aren't necessarily important. You know, I don't necessarily worry about muscular strength because I'm strong enough to do what I need to do on a day-to-day basis. You know, in order to do my job, I don't need to be stronger. You know, so I can think about, okay, let's think about, you know, working on flexibility, agility, aerobic endurance, maybe. You know, I can work on different stuff because I'm prioritizing things a little bit. And that's the best way to do it, guys. Think about which one or two of these are most important to you. And that's where you can start. And then you can go from there, and you can really focus on developing one or two of these and then move on from there. Okay, guys, so bottom row, last few that we've got to do. So we've had, next one's coordination, you know, which is, again, very sort of skill related. It's the ability, again, to carry out a physical or sort of motor task. You know, coordination might be typing the right keys on the keyboard. Coordination might be the ability to, you know, I find my cup, pick it up, bring my cup up to my mouth and drink from it. That's coordination as well. But then it can go a lot further. You're thinking about, okay, dancing, where are your feet? You know, if you've heard the saying, oh, I've got two left feet, you know, I've not got much coordination when I'm dancing, sort of thing. You know, coordination comes into play with that. Stuff like, obviously, if the ball is coming across goal and you're going to try and, you know, get a foot on it and tap it into the net, you've got to coordinate your body part being in the right place at the right time based on the pace that the ball's coming at, how fast are you moving, how long's your leg, you know, all things that you've got to think about. It's doing it all, and like I say, just having the spatial awareness, really. Coordination, again, could be stuff like, you know, even a golf swing. How well can you coordinate that movement all the way through? Or if you're playing American football or anything where you're throwing the ball, you know, coordination, throwing the ball, releasing it at the right point. So that's what we're talking when we're thinking coordination. Now that applies to a lot of different stuff as well. Like coordination might be, could be musical. You know, if you're thinking about if you play the guitar, if you've ever tried to play the guitar, you need to do this hand here that'll do chords and stuff, and the other arm's going to do the strumming, but you've got them both going on at the same time, and they both at times need to be quite precise, and that's coordination. Stuff like throwing a dart, you know, releasing it at the right point. You know, your eyes can see where you want it to go, but carrying out that task and getting the dart to actually go where you want it to go is a totally different story altogether. So coordination applies to a lot of different things, and again, it's kind of like reaction time, where it can have a lot of implications outside of sports and exercise as well, and just make our lives a little bit easier in general, you know. So it's maybe things like this that are more important to you going forward. If you're thinking about longevity and keeping yourself fit and staying in shape, it's these sort of things that you might want to work on more than muscular strength and your body composition and stuff like that, and your speed and your agility. You know, it's not, those aren't important to everybody or priorities to everybody. Okay, guys, then we've got power. So for power, we're thinking about just the amount of force that has been exerted, the amount of force that's been applied. Now, again, that's important for somebody who, like this, is going to find themselves in like a scrum, and they need that power there, as well as the actual physical raw strength. They need the power behind that strength. But then again, you've got people like Usain Bolt, who the more powerful their legs are, the more distance they might cover with each step, because they're really driving forward. They drive off the blocks at the start, and it's quite explosive. It is a powerful movement. You'll notice with the sprinters, they're always punching through the air as well, you know. So power in the upper body as well as the lower body as well, guys. Twist now. Oh, guys, the dog's protesting. He's not getting no attention. Okay then. So where were we? So speed, of course, is really important to somebody like Usain Bolt, where we're thinking about probably the fastest man in the world, and again across a short distance, speed is going to be really, really important for somebody like him. Whereas for Mo Farah, if he's got all the speed in the world, it doesn't really count for anything if he doesn't have the endurance to back it up, and he can't go all that, like he can't go all the way, and he can't maybe finish the race, you know. So speed is of course really important for somebody like Usain Bolt. Then we've got agility. So it's kind of agility is being able to change direction quickly and suddenly without losing your balance. So these guys, not so much, because they tend to run in one direction, albeit a loop sometimes. Then we've got somebody, again, like this, who's playing like rugby or sport where you're trying to outmaneuver people, like quite literally. So rugby, football, American football, how often do you see somebody sort of move in one direction, usually to convince the opposition that that's what they're going to do, and then they change direction and go somewhere else, and they've totally thrown the other team off. You know, the agility, like a quick change of direction. Again, you see it quite a lot in certain footballers, especially ones that are really good on the ball. You know, going back a few years, you're talking like your Maradonas. Nowadays, you're talking your likes of like the Messis and stuff like that as well. So agility and being able to change direction is really important in certain sports. Think about stuff like again, ice skating, dancing, again, hockey, ice hockey, anything like that, where you've got to outmaneuver people as well. You've got to be able to change directions pretty quickly and pretty sharply, and keep your balance as well at the same time. Okay, guys, cool. So before we, I think we'll come back to these and have a little bit of a recap at the end of the session. In the time being, I'm just going to go and check that the dog's actually all right, because he hasn't stopped whining yet. We'll come back and whip through these. Well, you start having a little bit of a think about some of these questions then. So 3 sports that require cardiovascular fitness, 3 sports that require an ectomorph body type, or that they might be better suited to, 3 sports that require good balance, and 3 sports an endomorph body type might be suited to as well. So we'll give it a couple of minutes while I go and check the pooch, and then we'll go through these together. 2 seconds, guys. Okay, sorry about that, guys. He gets dead jealous because I'm talking to you and he's getting no attention. I'll have to get used to it. Okay, guys. So before we start doing these, actually, let's have a little bit of a recap, because that was a lot to take in. So we've got cardiovascular or aerobic endurance. This type of training primarily works the heart and lungs. Yeah. Muscular strength is the amount of force a muscle can produce with a single maximum effort. Muscular endurance is the ability of a muscle to continually contract over a period of time against a light to moderate load. Yeah, so not too heavy, because if you go too heavy, you won't be able to do it for a period of time. It'll just get too heavy, and your muscles will just get tired. Yeah, so muscular endurance tends to be like a light to medium sort of load, and it's just how long can those muscles maintain it, really. Body composition is the last one that I wanted to come back round to. So body composition is just literally what your body is made up of, or what your body is composed of. So it's the ratio of fat, water, and muscle in your body. Now, there's no, this is sort of like an aspect of fitness that we can think about, because again, you look at Arnold Schwarzenegger when he's getting on stage at Mr. Olympia, or Phil Heath or Kai Green or anybody like that. When it comes to that show day, and they are essentially, there's no spare fat on them. They're not really carrying any extra body fat, and they've deliberately tried to drop as much water as possible. So you would look at them at, I mean, on the day, 4-6% body fat maybe. And again, you think, wow, that they're looking really good shape. They must be really healthy. They must be really fit. But at the same time, you would look at somebody like Usain Bolt and think he's really fit, you know, or totally like in a different ballpark, somebody like Lewis Hamilton, you know, who he like the Formula One driver, the amount of strength and endurance that those guys need to have to wrestle the car around the corner and to maintain the tension in their body to, you know, keep their necks still, stop their head flopping when they're going around corners and stuff like that. It's meant to be such a challenging thing to do. It's meant to be such a challenging workout. And, you know, Formula One drivers are really fit, but they don't look like Arnold Schwarzenegger on show day, you know. So at the end of the day, there's no right and wrong body type, really. There's no right and wrong body composition, you know. His body composition is perfect for what he does. His body composition is perfect for what it does, and so is his as well. Yeah, so again, there is no right and wrong body composition. Yeah, we need to be, you know, conscious of bad foods and carrying more like more weight than our frame wants us to, or, you know, to the point where it's putting strain on our heart and our joints and stuff like that. But when it comes to, you know, can you do a sport, or am I fit enough? Again, it's different for everybody. You know, can I do a sport? Of course you can. But again, thinking about just going on to really excel at that sport and be the best in the world, again, a certain body composition really helps, you know. So yeah, just when it comes to this idea of body composition, I think the consensus, or what a lot of people seem to think, is that the lower your body fat, the better. Usually, you know, people want to be lower body fat. People who, you know, they're a 12 and they want to be at 10% body fat. Now they're at 10 and they want to be at 8% body fat. And, you know, it comes at a cost as well, guys. They're not always the fittest. Actually, those bodybuilders, when you see them on stage, aren't as healthy as they could be. They're certainly not in peak health. They're in the peak physical appearance, aesthetic look, but health-wise, they're not as healthy as you might think. You know, they're really sort of quite depleted. They've been on a diet that's deficient in the amount of calories that they need for a long time, so the fat comes off, you know, but if they've still been in that sort of deficit for so long. So again, there's no right and wrong body type, guys. I guess I want you to sort of take away from this morning, there is no wrong shape, because there is no right shape to do everything. You know, there is no right way to look or no right way to be. It all depends on what you're trying to do. You know, like I say, somebody like Mo Farah would get on the rugby pitch and just get smashed a bit, probably. You know, I know I used to when I played rugby. So yeah, body composition, right for you, is it wrong for you? It's very specific to what it is that you're trying to do, really. There is no right and wrong. I just like to get that in there, because, you know, we live in the age where a lot of people aren't happy with their own physique, literally their own body, and I don't I don't feel as though it's necessarily always healthy. It's rarely healthy. As much as it might get you in the gym and get you exercising, you know, a lot of us need to work on our relationships with ourselves. And yeah, just the idea of thinking that you've got a wrong body composition just because you've got a little bit more fat than somebody else. It's not the end of the world, you know. If you look at somebody like again, powerlifters, Eddie Hall, like Thor, people like that, they are carrying more body fat than a bodybuilder will ever have during his career, even on the off season. But that lets them be stronger, you know. So to even somebody who looks as though they might, you know, benefit from a little bit of weight loss, it would make them weaker, you know. So it's counterproductive to what they're actually trying to do. Okay, guys, so moving on. Flexibility was the range of movement at each joint. Balance is the ability to maintain your center of mass over a base of support. Speed is how fast an athlete can travel over a set distance. Oh, in fact, that's the one that should have been in there. Balance. Cool. Then we had agility. So the ability to quickly and precisely move or change direction without losing your balance. Reaction time is time taken for somebody to respond, like a sprinter to the start gun. Coordination is the smooth flow of movement needed to perform a motor task efficiently and accurately. And power is a combination of speed and strength. Just jumping back over to YouTube and checking the chat. Okay, guys, so yeah, power is a combination of speed and strength. Okay, guys, right, so we'll come back to that. In the meantime, we're going to start working through this. So I know we had a couple of minutes earlier to start to have a think about some answers as well, but let's see what we can get, guys. So can we think of 3 sports that require a cardiovascular / aerobic endurance? Yeah, so what I'll do, I'll work my way through these. And then, you know, if you want a little bit of time before you do the next question or before I give you answers for the next question, just pause it. You know, even if you're watching along live, you can always get away with pausing it and just press play when you're ready. You know, if you're not ready for answers while I'm sort of giving them out. Okay, guys, let's get into it then. So, can we think of 3 sports that require cardiovascular or aerobic endurance? Now, we've already mentioned long distance running. Yeah. When we talked about Mo Farah. What other sports? What other activities might require cardiovascular aerobic endurance? So again, endurance, we're thinking about doing it for time, like any sport, competitive sports, really, basketball, football, rugby. You need that cardiovascular aerobic endurance, and sometimes whoever has the better aerobic endurance, that makes a difference. If you've got a better than your opponent, you've got an edge, you know. Especially when it comes to competing, anybody can go out there and, you know, kick a football around and have a game of football. But when it comes to sort of, like I say, sort of competing, and we're getting into that professional, semi-professional sort of realm, having better cardio fitness than your opponent can sometimes get you the win. And I guess another one that we could chuck in there as well, again, would be the F1 drivers. Again, it's a long race and they are tense and active and exercising, and the heart rate is up the whole time. Although they're driving a car, there's a lot of fitness goes into that, and they need the cardiovascular fitness to be able to maintain it across 2 hours, 3 hours, however long the race is. Okay, then, can we think of 3 sports that an ectomorph body type might be suited to? So to have a recap, if you weren't so sure, the ectomorph is the naturally skinny, sort of like thin limbs, fast metabolism, tends to be sort of skinny through the whole life, really. So 3 sports an ectomorph body type might be suited to. And more often than not with the ectomorph, the biggest plus really, or the biggest pro, is that they are carrying less weight. Yeah, they're carrying less muscle, they're carrying less weight. So ectomorphs do really well at endurance sports, you know, triathlons, cycling in itself, swimming, long distance running, ectomorphs as well. Very good jockeys, actually, very good jockeys, because they're light, you know, and if the jockey's lighter, the horse is going to be lighter as well. So they can do well as jockeys. Ectomorph body type can do pretty well at martial arts as well. Bruce Lee was a ectomorph, or was an ectomorph. So yeah, like certain martial arts and stuff like that could be good for an ectomorph. Okay then, 3 sports that require good balance. What do we think, guys? What do we think? So good balance, we might think about gymnastics and all the different areas of gymnastics, you know, the beam, the floor, I mean, even stuff like where they're doing flips, where they're doing, was it the vault? The vault? Something like that. I'm sure it's like the vaulting event. Of course, when they jump and are spinning through the air, they need to still maintain their balance to land on their feet, to know where they are, to keep the movement under control. Olympic diving requires good balance. Again, figure skating and stuff like that. Hockey all require good balance and the ability to sort of stay on your feet. Okay, number 4, can we think of 3 sports that an endomorph body type might be better suited to? So again, just to recap, the endomorph is so sort of barrel chested, sort of barrel sort of torso, waist as wide as the chest, if not wider. Can put muscle on quite well if they're exercising and training, but put fat on really easily, especially if they're not. Yeah, so endomorphs, I mean, a natural one to go to might be sumo wrestling, you know, naturally good at that. Certain positions in certain sports as well. Yeah, like I say, where is he? This gentleman here. Obviously within certain sports, different positions on the team have different jobs to do. So again, you might be thinking like somebody who's going into a scrum when they are playing rugby. Endomorph again might be somebody who you know, like Shaquille O'Neal, famous basketball player, retired now, but he was like, they had to change the rules because he was so dominant because of his weight and his mass and his height as well. They changed the rules in the league because it was just like it was like he put cheat codes in pretty much, and that was all because of his build, his genetics. He very famously didn't have a great work ethic, and he certainly didn't get to where he was through hard work entirely, like somebody like Kobe. But yeah, somebody like a Shaquille O'Neal might be really good at was really good at playing a center in a basketball, because like I say, you're meant to be hard to move. So we've got sumo wrestling. We have certain positions in certain sports, again, like a center in basketball, or I've seen certain centre halves play football over the years that certainly fit into this body type, but I can't think of any now off the top of my head. But you know, powerlifting is a really good one for endomorphs as well. Powerlifting, strongman competitions, and all that sort of thing as well. Because if you weigh more, you can exert more force most of the time. Yeah, so the heavier you are, the more force you're actually going to be able to output and exert. So see lots of different sports, especially when you think outside the box a little bit, that an endomorph would not just be suited to, but could actually really sort of excel at. You know, it's a sort of thing as well why there is division and weight classes in boxing and stuff like that as well. You know, to keep people like Mo Farah from fighting people like Tyson Fury. Okay, guys. So moving on. 3 sports that require a particular body composition. Now, it's a little bit of a trick question, because most sports, especially to be one of the best at, most sports require a specific body composition. Yeah. So, or certainly to the point where it lets you do certain things, you know. So, Arnold Schwarzenegger's body composition on competition day, you know, lots of muscle, really low body fat, not much water. Whereas, you know, like I say, somebody like Mo Farah, when he comes to doing his 3,000 meters, kind of specifically requires that he doesn't have that sort of build. You know, you don't see anybody training for long distance running by trying to put a load of muscle on, because they're just going to make the job harder for themselves. Yeah. So again, anybody can run long distance, anybody can run, but at the same time, like I say, in order to be one of the best in the world at it, you kind of gonna need to look something like this, you know. Like if you look at the other competitors that he's racing against, you know, they're all a very similar sort of shape. You know, there's not like one guy at the end of the 3,000-meter row getting ready to take off who's like, this guy was an endomorph, you know. So I would say that most sports can require a specific body type, you know. What do you think, guys? Like I say, I'm always interested to hear your guys' thoughts as well. What do you think? Okay, where are we? 3 sports that a mesomorph body type might be better suited to. So we'll get the bodybuilding out the way, because just naturally, genetically, more gifted. A lot of bodybuilders tend to fall into this category. And then you see it a lot in places like professional dancing and professional skating and stuff like that. If you look at the people that do that sort of predominantly, you tend to find that they're not all the same shape, but you know, those that naturally sort of broader shoulders, especially with I think it tends to be especially more with the guys in those sorts of sports, because it tends to be the guys doing a lot of the lifting and a lot of the supporting and stuff like that. So being naturally a little bit broader and a little bit more athletic lends you really well to doing that sort of thing. And to be able to, you know, not drop your partner on the floor or on the ice or whatever it is. And then for mesomorph, so we did bodybuilding, we've done certain positions in sort of like dancing, ice skating and stuff like that. So for mesomorphs as well, I think about somebody like Michael Phelps. So Michael Phelps, who I think he's the most decorated Olympian of all time, actually won the most medals of all time. Is just retired now, I think. Was a swimmer, and he's just an absolute monster. He was like, I'm gonna have to say how tall he was, but his shoulders and his back muscles, are just, like I say, set him apart from a lot of the competition. The other competition will have been training well and training hard, but again, his genetics give him the shoulder width and the shoulder strength that he's got. And he was untouchable within that sport for a lot of time, a lot of years. So something like swimming, a Mesomorph could be naturally quite good at as well, because the extra muscle that they're carrying is actually the weight's being taken by the water in that case. So they've got the same amount of power, but gravity isn't, and that extra weight isn't pulling on them as much, because they're in the water and the water's taking some of that weight. Okay, can we think of 3 sports that require good coordination? Now, I don't know if I'm gonna go as far as to calling darts a sport. I don't think if you can drink a beer while you're doing it, I don't know if it counts as a sport. But again, we mentioned darts earlier when it comes to coordination. Thinking about stuff like bowls, I guess, like bowls where you've got to roll the ball and get it as close to another one as possible. That requires a good sense of coordination. Dancing requires coordination, and skating does. Like I say, require a good bit of coordination. Formula One racing, again, coordination, being able to and reaction time. You know, those cars are moving quick. They've got to be able to, you know, position the wheel in their hands and do the gears and get themselves around the corner, keeping themselves on the track. And at the same time, reaction time, they don't get much time to do it either. So Formula One and race car driving, actually, because it's something I've never really followed. I didn't really understand how much fitness goes into it, to be honest. And then like you come to understand it and really sort of appreciate it. And yeah, there's a lot of training and a lot of fitness involved in certainly Formula One and race car driving and stuff. Okay. 3 final one for coordination. We could chuck in and say something like the triple jump, where you've got to do the hop and the skip and the jump, and it doesn't matter how powerful you are and how far you jump, if you don't coordinate it and do it in that order, your results void. Yeah, so that always used to catch me off, actually. I was good at the long jump, but the triple jump, just doing the, like I said, that hop, the skip and the jump and doing them all together just used to throw us off. My head was that battered by the time I went to jump, I forgot what I was doing. So yeah, coordination and being able to, like I say, carry out that multitask, really important in some sports as well. Okay then, can you think of 3 sports that require good agility? So agility, again, we're thinking about changing directions really quickly. So we might be thinking something like a rugby or American football or basketball, where players are going to be trying to get the ball from you. So you need them to think you're going one way and then you actually go a different way. Yeah. Other sports where you're changing direction pretty quick, again, stuff like hockey, skating, dancing, need you to be quite sort of agile as well. Skiing requires balance and good agility as well, you know, to change direction and stay on your feet as well without losing your balance and come off your skis. Okay, last couple guys. So can we think of 3 sports that require an element of speed? So of course, sprinting, we could say the first, say it could be the first. And then again, potentially looking within different positions and within different areas within different sports. Yeah, so to be a footballer, you might not necessarily need to be fast. Yeah, but to play a winger or a midfielder, you maybe do need to be a little bit quicker, or maybe you're a wing back or a full back and you're getting backwards and forwards. You know, maybe you're playing again basketball and you're a guard, or like a point guard or a shooting guard, where you're moving around a little bit more. You've got a lot more off-ball duties to do. You know, you need to get yourself open to somewhere where your teammate can give you the ball and you can get a shot. You know, it's the same again. Same applies to, can apply to football, in the sense that maybe you are a striker, and maybe, you know, like a Craig Bellamy or Michael Owen, somebody like that, who kind of makes a living and gets their own play style from the speed that they had naturally. You know, sort of play the ball in behind the defense, and this guy's going to be quick enough to get onto the end of the ball. And you're going to have a chance to score pretty much. So again, it's different areas within different sports, but yeah, certainly stuff like running and sprinting and stuff like that. Speed's going to be important. 3 sports that require power. Again, sprinting definitely, because you need to be powerful with each step as well. Power lifting and strongman and stuff like that, of course, requires power. What else have we got? So what was our definition for power? A combination of speed and strength. So we had, okay, cool. So sports that require power might be again shot put, discus, stuff like that, where you're physically throwing something and you need to get it as far as you can. Yeah, again, power. It might be the high jump, where you've got to get as high off the floor as you can in one jump, or the long jump, again, where you're trying to clear as much distance as you can. All different sports that require some element of power. Yeah, some aspect of power to be sort of used. 3 sports that require a good reaction time. We might have already done this, guys, truth be told. So 3 sports that require a good reaction time. We might be thinking along the lines of, we've mentioned Formula 1 racing and race car driving, where you've got to react to, you know, a corner coming up, or maybe there's been an accident on the track in front of you and you've got to dodge or swerve or brake or something. Definitely a sport that requires reaction time. Being a goalkeeper, and maybe it's even a defender, or football in general, you know. Like I say, a good reaction time, being the first one to a loose ball, can give your team a chance to score, really, you know, in a game that's sometimes decided by one goal. Being the first to react to an opportunity can win you the game. It can get you 3 points, can win you a trophy if you're playing in a final, you know, and all to do with that reaction time. More stuff that requires reaction time. Let's have a think, guys. Let's have a think. See if we can get one more before we move on. Reaction time. Coming in to check the chat, see if you guys have got any ideas. So reaction time might be, again, swimming, sprinting, running, whatever it is, where you've got to be quick off the mark. Yeah, where you need to be ideally off the mark before every single person that you're competing against. So stuff like that as well, we're going to need reaction time. And then sports that require good flexibility. I think the obvious one would be gymnastics. You know, we're talking splits and handstands and all that sort of thing. Requires a good bit of flexibility. Other forms of flexibility, it might be again, figure skater, a dancer that's being picked up, getting held in a certain shape. You've got to get into a certain shape. And then as well with flexibility, yoga can be good for developing your flexibility, but the further down the line you go, the more flexibility you need. So that could be one that requires good flexibility as well. And then again, in stuff, more basketball than anything, because I've seen more basketball than anything, like rugby and stuff. But again, some of the shapes that those guys need to get their bodies into requires a lot of flexibility, and is normally a big way that basketball players can stay fit and keep their bodies working, is doing stuff like yoga and working on their flexibility to make sure that their muscles are strong and supple as well at the same time. And you know, they're not going to go and do a jump and dunk it one day. And you know, they land and a hamstring tears because, you know, they've landed in a funny way that they're just not flexible enough to do. So yeah, see a lot of lack of flexibility related injuries in basketball actually. So yeah, that's just another one where so flexibility is going to come in. Again, lots of different types of gymnastics is going to use the different sort of forms of flexibility as well. So I think that was 3 for flexibility as well. So I think, guys, yeah, that's us done actually. So we've done really well there. So I'm going to, this is like a little closing exercise. I'm just going to pop this little crossword up on the screen for you. And then just while I'm giving you all the rundown for the, like sort of finishing up the session, you can work through this. And then, you know, if you want to put what you've learned today to the test, when the session's done or over the next week, or come back to it at any point, you can come back to the to the presentation. You can come back to this part of the video, which will have this slide up, and then you can try and finish off this crossword as well. So yeah, take a little bit of time on that. Check that knowledge, guys. So we've got 4 across. How fast an athlete can travel over a set distance. 6 across. The ability to quickly and precisely move and change direction without losing balance. 7 across is the ability to maintain your center of mass over your base of support. 8 is a combination of speed and strength. 9, this type of training works your heart and your lungs. Yeah, so it's 2 words, 7 letters, then 9. 10 across is the range of movement at joints. And then we've got a couple of ones going down over as well. So we've got the smooth flow of movement needed to perform a motor task efficiently and accurately. The ability of a muscle to continually contract over a period of time against a light to moderate load. Again, that's 2 words, it's 8 letters, then 9. Time taken to respond. 2 words again, 8 letters, and then 4. And then 5 down, the last one is the ratio of fat, muscle, and water in the body. And that is 2 words again, 4 letters, and then 11. Yeah, so see how many of those you can get, guys. See how many of those you can get filled in. Of course, as always, guys, don't forget to fill in the survey for today's session. Your feedback's really important to us, and it helps us actually fill in some paperwork on this end on your behalf as well, and it saves you having to do it. So yeah, if you don't mind filling in that survey, if you just go to the description below the YouTube video, click the link where it says survey, that'll take you straight to where you need to be. Put all your answers there, and then they just ping straight back to us. You don't need to download it, fill it in, save it, send it back, or any of that. None of that kerfuffle. So nice and easy, guys, and not even 30 seconds to do. And like I say, we always appreciate a little bit of feedback as well, guys. So we've got the description, and we've got the survey, we've got my email, and then we've got the link to today's workout video as well, guys. So like I say, the one I've picked you today, you'll feel different types of fitness being worked throughout. You'll know whether it's your maybe your muscular endurance that's struggling, or maybe it's your aerobic endurance that's working harder through a certain point. So give that a go, guys. But as always, if that doesn't take your fancy this morning, you fancy something maybe it's a little bit easier, a little bit harder, you know, maybe you just want to stretch to start your Monday off right. There is that link will take you straight to our playlist, and all them videos are there. So if you fancy a stretch or something else, you can have a look through the different videos. But like I say, that link will take you straight to the playlist as well. Okay, guys. So like I say, if you want to fill in this crossword and finish it up, either pause it now or come back later on in the week and pause it on this slide, and get as many of them as you can. Let me know how you get on if you want to. Of course, this is our last session. I know some of you are booked on the other courses and stuff like that, but if you aren't, and you want more information on what courses are coming up, then by all means do just get in touch and let me know, and I'll give you a little bit of info on that as well going forward. So yeah, guys, thank you for tuning in this morning. Thank you for tuning in this week, and thank you for training with Media Savvy. Especially while everything's still virtual and everything's still online, you know, we hope to be face to face again when it's safe and realistic and practical for everybody and all of our sort of service users, all of our learners, and we will get there, guys. We will get there. But for the time being, thank you for logging on and staying connected with us. And yeah, if you're not booked onto any of the courses, either health and well-being or digital skills related, again, let me know and I'll get you as much info as I can on all of the courses that we've got coming up. Yeah. If not, like I say, thank you very much. I hope you've enjoyed yourself. I hope you've enjoyed the course and found it useful, found it interesting. And like I say, hopefully we can start to take what we've learned, what we've looked at, and apply it to ourselves and start to understand why what works for one person might not work for somebody else, and why, you know, we need to be specific in what it is that we're doing, and we need to think about, what does fitness mean to me? What areas do I want to get better at, or what do I want to develop at, or what areas do I want to make sure that I maintain further into life? You know, what's more important? I'm not overly bothered about being strong at 50, 60. I'd like to just be able to play with, like I say, my kids and interact and stuff like that when they do come along as well, especially at that age, you know. So think about, yeah, what in fitness is important to you. Where does that lead you to maybe getting started this new fitness journey as we're out of lockdown, restrictions have lifted, we've got access to stuff that this time last year we just didn't. It's exciting, it's an opportunity, it's a good time to start to be thinking about our fitness, especially with, I hate to say it, but Christmas just around the corner. So we've got the whole naughty month coming up, where the celebrations tin and the quality streets come out. So again, now's a really good time to be thinking about our fitness, and hopefully sort of what we've looked at and covered will just help you manage your own fitness going forward. Because like I say, there's nobody else can specifically give you the answers, because everybody's different, everybody's unique, and everybody has different barriers, everybody has different circumstances that they need to work around. That being said, best of luck on your fitness journey, whatever your goals, and just remember, consistent, slow and steady wins the race, guys. There is no quick fix. It doesn't happen overnight, and consistency is king, really. You're better off doing something at a moderate level and being consistent with it for like ongoing, rather than say start a new gym or a new fitness class or a new sport and absolutely hammer it, or a new food diet even, you know, and go OTT in the first week to the point where you're just sick after a week and you go back to your old habits, eating and training. It could be the best plan in the world. If you can't stick at it, it hasn't done its job. So that is why it needs to be specific to you. And like I say, now you've got a lot of tools that you can think about, okay, what is important to you? How are you going to get fit, stay fit? And of course, you know where to come if you've got any questions, guys. You know where I'm at. I'm just an email away. So as always, guys, we'll leave it there. We'll call it there. Thank you for tuning in. Hope everybody stays safe. I really can't believe we're getting to the point where I'm even saying Christmas. But you know, if we don't see you on any more courses in term 1, have a lovely Christmas, and I may just see you in term 2 for some other stuff that we've got coming up as well, guys. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed all of your sessions. Take care of yourselves, stay safe, and I will catch you when I catch you. Yeah, thanks a lot, guys. Take it easy. Catch you later. Bye.